This is He Knows Everything, bringing you that heat and that fire. We keeping a foot on the what? On the Knicks. We keeping a foot on the what? On the Knicks. Let's talk about it, man. There's a reason why Bernard Hopkins and guys like this are changing. You see, there's a lot of people out there that are running their mouths. Let me tell you the people you need to be listening to. You need to be listening to Rolly Romero's coach, Coach Bullet. You need to be listening to Bernard Hopkins and why Bernard Hopkins changed his position. You need to listen to guys like Gary Russell Jr. They're telling you the emphatic truths. They're not with the 50-50. They're breaking down why it makes sense why Errol Spence is going to systematically beat Terence Crawford. Coach Bullet understands jabs, body punches, inches and distance, square circle within square circle. That's who He Knows Everything got the information from in the last iteration of this series that he explained it to you. Gary Russell Jr. Terence Crawford is defensively irresponsible. He used the He Knows Everything terminology. This is a terminology He Knows Everything brought to the YouTube world back in 2018. It's beautiful to see when He Knows Everything's terminology is used, but motherfuckers have a problem. They've been having a problem since 2018 giving He Knows Everything credit. But you know what? Imitation is the highest form of flattery. So even if you don't give He Knows Everything credit, the credit is still going to come back because others are going to know who the credit actually belonged to. Let me say it again. The credit is going to come back because others are going to know who the credit actually belonged to. So when it's all said and done, and all you got to do is look at the background tells you how others understand that He Knows Everything is the author of these things. Bernard Hopkins is a technically sound, fundamentally sound fighter. This is how he beat Roy Jones Jr. Because Roy Jones Jr. was shoe shining. Roy Jones Jr. was showboating. Roy Jones Jr. was fancy. This is why Roy Jones Jr. has a problem with the Errol Spence style. Because he got beat up by guys that had the Errol Spence style. Not even to the level of Errol Spence. Like Antonio Tarver. Shout outs to At the End of the Day with Tom Ross TV. He eloquently said it on the live. You see the difference between He Knows Everything and other people? When somebody else says something, He Knows Everything always gives credit back to the author. Let me say it again. When somebody else says something, He Knows Everything always gives credit back to the author. There's no loss in you as a man. There's no loss in your masculinity to do that. And what it's at the end of the day, Tom Ross TV says so eloquently. He mentioned that the reason why Antonio Tarver don't want to give Errol Spence credit is because he wants to be the only one to say that he beat a fighter with a technically sound and fundamentally sound style. Let me say it again. He beat a fighter with a technically sound and fundamentally sound style. But Errol Spence is the most technically sound and most fundamentally sound fighter in the history of the sport. The man is a master at the simple. He is a master at the technical. He is a master at the fundamental. So Antonio Tarver could sit there and hate all he wants, but at the end of the day, your hating is going to turn into congratulating. Let me say it again. Eventually, your hating is going to turn into congratulate. Watch, when Errol Spence wins, he's going to say, man, Errol fought the way I fought. Because I know how these guys operate and think. And then you have to look at the fact that Gary Russell Jr. is talking about Terence Crawford being defensively irresponsible. Gary Russell Jr. was able to hurt Terence Crawford. And he is a 100, not even 135 pounder. So you have to ask yourself, a guy like Errol Spence, as big as he is, as durable as he is, as built 2-4 tough as he is, as technically and fundamentally sound that he is, a guy of his magnitude that fights on the level that he fights, how is Errol Spence not going to systematically break down Terence Crawford? If you can't ask yourself these questions, if you can't come to these conclusive states, if you can't come to this finality, if you can't come to this totality, that Terence Crawford done barked up the wrong tree. And when you bark up the wrong tree, the tree falls on you. Jay-Z famously said that. But Jay-Z also said 99% of y'all are in delusion. Because the delusion is as simple as this. For y'all to even think that Terence Crawford has a chance. When you listen to these boxing aficionados tell you Errol Spence went through a car crash. Well, what happened against Dennis Ugas? They said the same thing too. We don't know what Spence we're going to get. They said the same thing against Danny Garcia. These are two fights since the car crash. You can't use that example. Stop the presses and pump the brakes on the nonsense and go sit down somewhere. What? Higgity fucking hush. Didn't he prove in Danny Garcia you can't use that? Didn't he prove in your Dennis Ugas you can't use that? They don't understand that. Because when it's all said and done, they cannot believe that the True Spence is the truth. They cannot believe that there's no lies in his damn fist. They cannot believe we left the Mayweather era and we ushered into the Spence era. See, Terence Crawford has a fundamental problem. The fundamental problem that Terence Crawford has, he thinks the True Spence is every opponent that he has faced. What he's going to realize is the opponents that he faced in the ring was nothing like the True Spence. The fact that he's not respecting that the True Spence is his greatest fight, the fact that he's not thinking that this is a fight that he should fear his life for, you're not fully respecting your opponent. If you notice the difference, the True Spence is actually respecting Terence Crawford because the True Spence is saying this is my biggest fight. That means he's training in the full variation of tactical aggression. He's saying that Terence Crawford is going to be his biggest fight. He's training in the full variation of technical punching placement. He's saying that Terence Crawford, this fight right here means so much to the sport of boxing. That means he's training in the full variation of respect of body snatching work. This means you are going to get the ultimate levying onslaught of the punishment style because he's fully respecting your opponent. The cardinal rule in boxing is you're supposed to respect your opponent. You're supposed to respect the opponent that's in front of you. When you take your opponent lightly, when you say, well, I don't know if this is going to be my hardest fight because it's going to be like every other fight, when we know the magnitude of this fight, when we know you've never been on this stage and we know you've never faced an opponent like the True Spence, stop the presses and pump the brakes on the nonsense and go sit down somewhere and what? Higgity fucking hush. We could see it's a Chihuahua barking. We see it's a Chihuahua talking. And we see it's a Chihuahua yapping. And this is why the Chihuahua is going to choke. This is why the Chihuahua is going to croak. This is why you're going to hear that. Because when it's all said and done, the True Spence is going to systematically break down Terence Crawford. The True Spence is going to dominate Terence Crawford. And the True Spence is going to obliterate Terence Crawford. All of these people that are loving the fact that they can just say stuff against the True Spence is because they want to see Spence lose. They don't really give a fuck about Terence Crawford. But if you listen to the real people, they're telling you who's going to win. Even Jerome Boots Ennis. Spence is going to impose his will on Terence Crawford. See, guys are smart. They understand what time it is. And they know that when it's all said and done, Terence Crawford doesn't have nothing for the True Spence. Because with Spence, you got to be able to be on that Floyd Mayweather. And if you ain't on that Floyd Mayweather, which we know Terence Crawford is nowhere near Floyd Mayweather. And it's funny that people want to copy him and say, oh, he like Floyd Mayweather. He could just download. Shut the fuck up. If you're a rapper saying that shit, stay your ass in your rapping ass lane. Stop the presses and pump the brakes on the nonsense and go sit down somewhere and what? Higgity fucking hush. That's why you're a rapper and not a boxer. Stay in your fucking lane. It doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter about your Rudy Poo and Plum brain self. It doesn't matter about your classic Dote and Troglodyte self. It doesn't matter about your ultra fanboy with the ultra fanboy rhetoric self. Because a lot of people that's picking Terence Crawford, they are going to be shocked. Because this fight is not close. It ain't no 50-50. And a big fish like the True Spence, you can't reel that motherfucker in. Because we're talking about a megalodon shark. A megalodon shark has no predator. It is the predator. Let me say it again. A megalodon shark has no predator. It is the predator. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat truth-telling fashion. I keeps the foot on the what? On the Knicks. I keeps the foot on the what? On the Knicks. This is He Knows Everything. Check it out.